Had some thunderstorms move through last night. It's made the temperature drop quite a bit. Had to build up a little fire this morning. But it's a beautiful day, even though it's overcast. Might be a day that don't have the burning sun on my back. Maybe we can get some stuff done today. I got 7 of the trusses put up yesterday on our project. Hopefully I can finish the remaining 6 today. You know, one of the major objections from the futurist camp against realized eschatology is brought up from Revelation of the Great White Throne Judgment. And I can remember preachers in my past that thought the world of, and they thought the majority of Revelation was fulfilled, but when they come to chapters 20 and 21 and 22 of Revelation, then because they read of this Great White Throne Judgment, they didn't think that that was fulfilled yet. We see I've got a question. Is the Great White Throne Judgment of Revelation 20 the same judgment of Matthew 25:31 and following? Is it the same judgment that we read about in Daniel chapter 7, where in Daniel's dream he sees the 4 beasts, which the angel interprets as 4 kingdoms, which culminates in the establishment of the everlasting kingdom? See, if that's the case, and it is, it has to be, unless you can come up with multiple judgments at the time of the coming of the Son of Man with his angels in the clouds of heaven for the opening of the book's judgment. So there's only one of them. So you can't come up with multiple judgments. So that proves the Great White Throne Judgment is the same judgment of Matthew 25, the Olivet Discourse, by the way, Daniel 7, and that's the same judgment that Paul said was about to occur in Acts 17:31. It's the same judgment that Peter said was about to occur, was at hand. The time is come for the judgment to begin at the house of God. 1 Peter 4:17. God is ready to judge the living and the dead. 1 Peter 4:5 and verse 7 as well. So you see, when we look at these texts, when we realize there's just one judgment, and then the fact that Jesus posits that judgment during his generation, then what choice do we have other than to just deny what the Bible says? And then back to Revelation 20, you see chapter 20 begins with the millennium, quote unquote, 1,000 years. But the text says, and when the 1,000 years are expired. So at the end of the millennium, at the end of the 1,000 years, Satan is loosed for a little season, right? And he goes out into the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, which, by the way, he just defined the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog. And Satan elicits this battle of Gog and Magog. And then Satan, at the White Throne Judgment, is cast into the lake of fire, right? That's what the text says. But see, here's the rub. The battle of Gog and Magog, John takes that directly out of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And the battle of Gog and Magog of Ezekiel 38 and 39 is a prediction of the judgment of Israel, Old Covenant Israel, in Israel's last days. That's what the text says. So if Revelation 20, the battle of Gog and Magog, and the Great White Throne Judgment is not fulfilled yet, then the law of Moses remains binding. all of the law of Moses is not fulfilled. And that's what Jesus said. He said, till heaven and earth pass, not one jot or tittle shall pass from the law and the prophets till all is fulfilled. And so if the battle of Gog and Magog is yet in our future, then the law of Moses remains binding. So it's just some things to think about. And we need to study the Bible and allow the scriptures to interpret themselves instead of us imposing our own ideas and theologies into the text and doing violence to the context. But anyway, here we are. And you can see we've got a little more collection of water from all the rain we had last night. But as you can see, as I said, I got 7 of the trusses with all the nailers and everything in place. I'll walk around here to where you can see the nailers, what I'm talking about. And as I said, they're the same as the nailers down here, where the T111 attaches. But these are put on basically 2-foot centers. I moved one up there off center just a little bit so it would miss the gussets. But then see, there'll be a nose board across the bottom here, across the ends of the rafters, and so that gives the polycarbonate structure to lay on every 24 inches on center, no matter which way it goes. So that's the idea behind that, so that it doesn't span too large of a distance, and maybe a heavy snow load would cause it to collapse, although that stuff's pretty tough. But anyway, that's where we're at, and we'll go back to the house and we'll get started. Let's reverse that one, as that'll be the last one off, and I want the gussets turned the opposite way, and that's so on both ends the gussets are turned inward, so the polycarbonate, there's no interference with that. You don't have to use build outs, it's as easy as just turning the truss around. This morning before breakfast, cutting more of these spacers to go in. The reason some of them are dark and some are not, this is new and or clean lumber, and this is used lumber. This came out of my canopy out there that I demolished when I fell a tree across it. I made a good video for the idiots falling trees. But anyway, that's trying to find all the material I can use, scrape up and use, save a few dollars since lumber prices went through the roof. Now you can see what the ramp was for. Allows me to get just high enough to set them on top of the wall. Now I want to show you a little trick right here. Now I fastened the truss down on the other side, flush with the outside of the wall, okay? Now I want to come over here. You see this where it's not lining up right here? Yeah, I know, it's not much, but that bugs me. I want that lined up just right. But see, I can't move the wall. I've already loosened the brace, see? But I can't move the wall without maybe putting a clamp across the walls. So let me show you what I do. See that right there? A little bit of a gap. Now watch this. I'll probably have to set the camera down, hold the truss to get the screw started, so bear with me. My hand out of the strap and get this screw started here. Okay, now you see the screw come through there. See that going through? Now watch this when I tighten it down. See that? A little tricky you can do. The more you need to pull it, the more gap you can leave. And because that screw is going in on a diagonal, when it closes the gap, then it pulls it this way. And I actually did that on the corner down there, on that corner post, because it was a little bit out of plumb and I couldn't move it. So that's what I did. And it pulled the post right into plumb. So now I'll reattach the brace and go ahead and put the rest of my nailers in. Well, this last one was a bit more of a feat because I had to lift both trusses up to be able to get this nailing block on both sides, and then fasten this truss here so that I could leave this one has to stay up here so that I can frame the wall, and then just slide it out and set it. I'll have to get the top plate in and just set it down on here. So that's what I've been working on. So the next chore is to lay off this end wall and frame it up. But I'm going to go see if I can find a bowl of Mary Ellen's homemade vegetable soup, a big bowl of her homemade vegetable soup.